Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, and welcome to the new 1631 Digital News Studio. You know, some people say, no news is good news. Well, I say to those people, you've never read 1631digitalnews.com. Go to 1631digitalnews.com to get your latest news, sports, music, and entertainment. And maybe even listen to your favorite podcast, Huddle Up with Gus. Check it out today at www.1631digitalnews.com.
Welcome to what surely will be a doozy of a matchup right here, sports fans. Whether your game is on the gridiron, at the diamond, or on the links, we can only say, welcome to this week's Huddle Up with Gus. 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, passion for sports, has taken him on the field and behind the benches, playing for 7 NFL franchises with 114 TDs under his belt. Gus knows who the players are and how the games are won.
It's not every day you get to hang out with an NFL quarterback, huh?
Okay, sports fans, from the decked out and plush 1631 Digital Studios, it's kickoff time. So snap your chin straps on and get ready to huddle up with Gus.
Strange variety, but again, a big play to Leslie.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, Gus Frerotte, and thank you for joining us. You can find us on huddleupwithgus.com, and you can also find us on radio.com and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You are joining us today in the new 1631 Digital News Studio, and we are glad to be produced by AMP TV. We are excited to be on KSIX. You can find us there on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., right before the NFL gets started. Today is a great day. We were joined this week by a great guest who grew up in Texas, told us about how sports shaped his life. Matthew McConaughey joined us, sat down with us this week, gave us a lot of insights that we didn't really know about him. Matthew and I were friends back in the days when I played with the Redskins, the Washington football team. And it's kind of funny when we sat and talked about all these green lights that he has because of his new book called Green Lights. A lot of things had to go back and forth. You know, we talked about the old days, and what was the old days? It was the Redskins. We talked about the new days and how Daniel Snyder might call him to help him name the Washington football team. But the insights that Matthew gave us into his life, all the green lights that have helped him through his life, the way he took his journals, wrote his story down, went out into the desert, took quite a few days. I think it was over 50 days at different periods of time to write his new book and to really hopefully help us all turn those yellow and red lights into green lights to move our life forward. And I really hope you enjoy this episode. And now I think we should join the huddle. All right, Matthew, we are ready to get in the show. I just wanted to get into some stuff that we always talk about with our guests, and that's how sports shapes your life. And, you know, knowing you and reading your book, well, I actually listened to it because it was nice hearing your voice. And I think you did an amazing job reading it. So I listened to that, and I think that, you know, I never really found out. I mean, you talk about Chris Hanberger a little bit back in the day, but how did you fall in love with sports at a young age?
Well, we grew up. I mean, there was, there was always some sort of ball in the house. I got 2 older brothers. They were decent athletes. My middle brother, Pat, turned out to be a really, really good golfer. We all played football up until about the 8th grade. My 2 older brothers played like 9th and 10th, and that's about as far as we went. So whatever season it was, that's the ball that we played with. If it was football season, we played football. If it was baseball season, we played baseball. I took up golf later on, played some tennis, played 12 years of soccer. That's just the game. We played basketball. That was what we did during the season. That's just kind of what we did, which most of the other neighborhood kids did. I became early on growing up in Longview, Texas, about 2.5 hours east of Dallas. I became what it was then called the Washington Redskins fan, which is now called the Washington football team. And it was because of a few simple reasons that a 4-year-old mind will fall in love with the team. I mean, I'm watching Westerns with my dad, and I'm rooting for the American Indians on horseback. I like the guys with arrows instead of guns. After that, my favorite food's hamburgers. Redskins got a middle linebacker named Chris Hamburger. What's another great reason to like this team? So I was a big underdog in Texas, obviously, especially growing up outside of Dallas, to be what was then called a Redskin fan. There was one guy across the street, Scott Smith, who actually was the only other Redskin fan I knew in Texas. I used to go to the Texas Stadium, painted, shirtless, painted burgundy on top with a headdress. And you know the chamois you used to dry your car off with?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have a chamois wrapped around my waist with a rope tying it on. I'd be barefoot, and I'd be right there on the 50-yard line in Texas Stadium when the Redskins would play the Cowboys. I was at, as you know, the last game at RFK, the first game at Jack Kent Cooke, and the first game at FedEx. I have burgundy soil in a mason jar from the end zone of RFK. And then just grew up loving that team. I thought that's what I wanted to be. At that time, they were called the Washington Redskins. I wanted to be a Redskin football player. John Riggins was my guy. And I was the guy in the backyard. I was sort of a late bloomer, so I wasn't very fast, but I had strong legs and backside. And I was hard to get down in backyard football. So my thing was peace, name, desire. You couldn't get me down. Well, that didn't last. It started to go away. Everyone got bigger and faster than me, starting around the 7th or 8th grade. So my football career didn't go much further than that. But sports, man, I mean, it's still my favorite. Sports is the truest version of reality TV. It's just, I go to a 2005 national championship where the University of Texas beats USC. You cannot write that script in my business of Hollywood. That's the single most dramatic event, a piece of entertainment I've ever seen. The ebbs and flows of that game. I just, and it's been a great teacher in me for preparation in my own job. Because as you know, you want to prepare so much that you're not thinking about what you have to do on the day. You want to go in knowing your game plan so well and knowing the opponent's game plan so well that you can call that audible with just an instinct. And that's, for me, that's when I do my job the best.
Right. And do you think, like you brought up a really interesting point, that you can't replicate a game like that? And I think the movie industry has tried to do that, but you don't. I mean, even though there's been amazing sports movies out there, I don't think any fan has ever gotten the same feeling as being at a true game.
No, and I'm not a huge fan of a lot of sports movies because it's never as good as the real thing. And I think that there are some that are fun, like Slapshot, and they're kind of funny, but it's never. I mean, I could never do, to be honest with you, I could never do anything in my life that will replicate that feeling I had when we beat the Cowboys that day at RFK, and that was the last game. I've tried since I've left the game for 15 years now, but nothing has worked. Right? I've been an entrepreneur. Nothing gave me that buzz.
Nothing. I mean, I love my family. I've been married 26 years. My kids are all grown. I get so much enjoyment and pride out of them, but I don't. It's hard. I heard you on a podcast with Chris Long and his podcast Greenlight, and talking about just what do you do when you leave, because you love something so much. And I feel like you're so lucky because you do the job that you love for so long. I mean, you can be 90 years old and still making movies, right? And I had this short period, and I just wonder, what do you feel like? Like, is that part of why you always wanted to be play at the highest level? Is you saw all of that?
Well, I was headed towards law school, and it wasn't until my sophomore year in college that I decided to change my career route and try to get into the storytelling business. So I went to film school at University of Texas. Look, to this day, still love sports. And I'm around my alma mater, the University of Texas Longhorns. And look, I'm 51, but I still sit there and watch in practice or something, and we'll see a cornerback, be a step late on knocking down on making a pass and incompletion by tipping it, and I'll kind of hop and think like, oh, I could have got that, and then I realize, no, you couldn't have got that, no, but it still feels like it was 4 years ago when I was in college. I mean, my body tells me different, but it still in my mind still feels like that was just the other day. I now have a job where I can go, I've played 3 lawyers. I much prefer preparing for a role for 3 months, working in that role for 3 months, and then saying, hey, now I've done 6 months as a lawyer or whatever vocation, whatever character I'm playing. Now I'm done. I can quit, go to another job. I can go play another part. It is a real advantage what I get to do. I get to go try to, live in everybody else's different shoes of different walks of life, from astronauts to quarterbacks to lawyers to poets to biographies of people. It's part of what I love about my job, because I've always been keenly interested in people and how they were the best at what they did, or in my job, how were they the most true at what they did? Because my job's not always about winning. It's one of the great things about sports is sports has you can declare the winner. It's a 100-meter dash. The first one that crosses first wins. You're the winner. It's not a gray area. In my job, art is much more subjective. It's hard to say what's the best of something. And sometimes I wish could be more clear cut, that there was more of a measuring standpoint to go like, no, this is the winner. This person is victorious because of this, this, and this. But it's much harder because art's just become more subjective.
Now, you grew up and you said you always had a ball in the house. I know you have kids now. Are you kind of doing that with them, where you always have ball, go play, go do something? When we were growing up, I was never inside. And I think kids today have changed. How do you feel about all that? Like, are you trying to get your kids out and doing as much as possible?
Well, I mean, yes, and we're trying to roll with the times of this electronic age and this digital age, right. Because I see great assets in certain games they play digitally, hand-eye coordination, seeing their brain work, choices they got to make. But we're very try to be as responsible as we can about what games we allow them to play, and we very much limit the screen time, because I grew up in a household like you did. If it's daylight outside, you get your butt outside. Yeah. I remember mom saying many times, you're not going to watch somebody do something for you that you could go out and do for yourself. And there's great lessons in that. You go out, you learn to negotiate with kids. The bully comes up. You got to work your way out of that situation. You get picked on teams. Sometimes you pick first. Sometimes you pick last. Some people don't play fairly. How do you call them out? What's a good game? Somebody hits you too hard, or you hit somebody too hard and they get ticked off. It's good for negotiating life. You learn life lessons of how to get out in life and deal. We still push our kids to get out quite a bit, and they have to for quite a few hours a day. They have to be outside moving around. They're playing all the sports right now. I'm trying to make sure that they don't get locked into only one sport this early in their life. My kids are 12, 10, and 7. So one of them loves soccer. The other one loves football. I'm like, well, keep playing them all. You don't need to specialize in anything right now. Be an athlete. I remember meeting you. Well, can you still dunk?
No, I wish.
Because when I met you, folks out there, this man didn't need a running start. Standing under the rim, up, two-hand jam on the basketball court. You were obviously an athlete.
Yeah,
you could see you move. Ago. But I'm trying to teach our kids, hey, play all the sports.
And that's what I did, right? And that's what I wanted to tell these stories about people growing up, because I think sports is so important for all of us. And hearing your story, there was a path that you took, but sports probably shaped and influenced you in a way. Hey, look, your book is amazing. I love hearing the stories about your dad and your mom. And I mean, my dad, I remember going home. 2 bullies were picking on me. They stole my bike, threw it in a tree, and I went home crying. He was working in the garden after working in the mill all day. And he said, you better go get your bike and not come back home until you have it. Mm-hmm. Right? And that story reminded me of a lot of stories that you told about your dad.
Yeah. Scary proposition, but what is the stuff we remember? Experiences. We remember experiences much more than what we were told or given advice for. And I bet you were scared, as could be, to go back and get that bike. But then once you got it, I bet you respected that bike a hell of a lot more. I bet you probably took better care of it. And I bet you grew up a lot. Our parents are good. And that's what I mean when I say negotiate in the world. It's as parents of you, especially when children are younger, you see them out on the playground and they get in an argument or somebody starts to get in some kind of fight. You're tempted to go, I need to go interrupt. I need to go stop this. But there's great value in going, no, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to see how my child negotiates this situation, because that's the real world. And we're not going to be there all the time. So let them go negotiate. Let them get scared and come home without their bike that the 2 bullies threw in the trees, and tell them, no, you're going to have to go back, or you're not going to school tomorrow until we have your bike back, and you're going to go get it. There's great value in that.
Well, how many green lights do you think sports has given you?
Well, as an approach to what I do, it's given me endless green lights. But I say, you played football. You play a bunch of sports, but you got football. That's a team sport. Most sports out there are team sports. Then you have something like golf, which is an individual sport. I played a lot of golf. I enjoyed that sort of inanimate object, that there wasn't a real opponent. The opponent was yourself and how you dance and play the course. The course is already built. Now, yes, the wind can pick up after you hit your shot and all of a sudden kick up to 35 miles an hour in your face and knock your ball down and you're underclubbed, but that doesn't happen all the time. Usually you can measure it. So there's a real art form to that individual sport. But football, let's take football, for instance, in team sports. Yeah, you're playing for the other person. You're playing for your team, and the best teams play for each other. But at the same time, I still see it as a very selfish sport, meaning if every player says, I'm going to play my position to the best of my ability on every single play within the context of what needs to happen and what play is called, well, then the collective team's going to play better. So I do see it as an individual responsibility and an individual game as well within a team sport that it is. But then again, that's how I look at life. I believe in the collective, and I believe in groups and communities and different tribes and what have you. But there's still, it's up to the person in the mirror, each one of us, to say, how good can I be at what I'm going to do? Whether it's the game of life, or whether it's with the relationship with our spouse, or as a father, or with our job. So it is an individual sport, but we are collectively combined when we're really good at, if we're on a team where individually everybody wants to be the best, or everybody individually wants to be damn excellent at what they do, that's what you're bound by. That's the collection. Because as you know, you got 6'5" linemen, and 4 of them want to be the best every play, and the other one is kind of like, when the hell's halftime? I'm tired. Well, that's when that guy sneaks in on your backside, right over that guy that said he was tired,
Right. That's when you're pulling yourself up out of that nice RFK dirt that you have in a jar. So if you take sports and everything you learned from it growing up and your love for it, how did you translate that into the work that you do today? Because it is a team that you're going to. Yeah, we don't get to see the behind the scenes and all the work. Like I think about like when I met you in our facility and I see you on the sidelines of games. We rarely get to see that as fans of what you do now in all those processes. So if you are the star or the quarterback of that group, what responsibilities do you have and to lead that team?
Yeah. Well, one, I'm going to show up as or more prepared than anybody. I'm going to be the master of my man, my character. Yes, somebody wrote it. Yes, someone's directing me, but I'm the master. It goes through me. I'm going to know my character upside, downside, left, right. I'm going to come to the scene. I'm going to come to the set every day with 4 versions of the truth to give you on my character. Throw at me whatever you want. I don't care. You tell any of those other actors they can do what they want, say what they want. I'm ready. Press record. We're live. I can call my proverbial audible if you do something that's not scripted, or if the director wants to change something up. I'm like, yes, always, yes, yes, yes. I go in with an attitude that as soon as I walk out of my trailer, the camera's rolling. Not between action and cut. I am my man when I walk off the set until I go home at night. So for that 12 hours. It's in my mind, I'm like, it's live. There's no audition. It's all one take. You have one take, and the camera's rolling right now. Be your man, McConaughey, is what I tell myself. So, and that comes from preparation. I've tried to when I was younger, I've tried to arrogantly act like that. But if I wasn't prepared, I couldn't, I couldn't back it up. But now I've learned to prepare to where all my work is in pre-production.
Yeah.
Meaning, I would bet your work is in practice and in reps. And if you do the right work in the preseason, my pre-production, when it's game time or when I'm on set, I'm not working. I'm playing because I did the work. It's moved from I'm not thinking about it. It's not in my head. It's moved down to my instincts. It's moved down to my body. You see how many teams out there, they get a new DC, new defensive coordinator. It's got this really, complicated defense. Pretty good reason to bet against that team next year, because you'll see players thinking. And if you see a player thinking, if you see a safety or cornerback thinking, you've got Westbrook or whoever has got to step on him because the corner was thinking. So you got to make that transition from intellectually learning something to where, no, it's past that. Now it's in my instincts. It's in my gut. I'm not even have to think about it. I'm moving with it. I'm reading the context of the situation. I'm reading the tells on my man that I'm covering. I'm ready. I'm calling audibles in stride, in the game. That's when I know I do my job the best. And I would guess that's when, athletes do their job the best. When they're not out there having to think about it, they're actually doing it.
Yeah, if you have to think about it and it's 4th and 7, and it's a big part of the game, or 3rd and long, or whatever you name it, you're not going to be successful. And, it just makes me think about how similar but different they are. And I compare football to a lot of things and sports to a lot of things. And I was just thinking about that, how your preparation and how our preparation would be the same, and what your game time is, right? Your game time is when you're doing all these great things. So tell me, what was your game time? I see your prep. Was your game time when you wrote this book, when you were going out to the desert? I mean, to me, I was like, how do you do that? Because that was a crazy preparation. Your preparation, it took 30 years of you writing in a journal.
Yeah, 36 years of preparation by writing in the journal. And then to get the damn courage to say I'm taking those journals away to go turn it, see if it's worthy of being a book, which I think it ended up being, and hope it did, because that's what it is, and that's what I got out there. But so when it was game time for me to go do that, as you know, what's the hardest part about working out or doing so many things that we're afraid of doing or don't want to do? The hardest part about working out is tying your damn shoes, right? And getting out the door. For me too, as soon as I loaded all my, you don't want to do it, but as soon as you do it, that's the hardest part, and you're glad you did. For me, that was it. As soon as I loaded up my truck with all my journals and my steak and my bourbon and my water, then I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm in. So I went to I like to go where I can have no other incoming frequencies. Meaning, so I went away to solitary confinement to this place with no electricity, no internet service, nothing, with just me and my journals, which is basically me hanging out with me over the last 50 years. All right. And I didn't want to. What's that?
Did you take one of your Airstreams, one of your silver bullets?
Nope. Left those at home. That was too much luxury. I needed just a shed. And I knew that I would get bored. I would get frustrated. I would get lonely. I would get like, I don't feel like writing. but I didn't want to have an alternate escape. I wanted to be like, okay, if you're bored or you don't know what to do, you've got one thing to entertain you, and that's your journals. So just keep going to that. So for a total of 52 days spread out over different sort of 10 and 12 day parcels, I spent in solitary confinement writing the book. And that was it. I ended up loving it so much and got so hot. You know, when you get in the zone, I was working 17 hours a day on average writing. And my biggest challenge was putting the pen down and going, you need to get some sleep. Right. And that became the hardest thing, is just because my mind was just on fire and I was writing and it was coming out of me and the words were coming out of me. And so that was the hardest part after a while, was just to remind myself, you got to get some sleep or you're going to burn out.
Well, I don't think you burn out. You know, I was listening to you talk, and then I've watched several of your podcasts that you've done with a lot of other people. And I was wondering in my mind if you would be a great rapper, because you're so poetic and you put words together so well. And I wonder if you've ever thought that.
Well, yes. And look, a version of what I do is rap.
It is.
You know, and you know, my favorite rapper, the original rapper, Bob Dylan. That guy was a rapper, man. If you ever listen to Bob Dylan, that's what he's doing, rapping. He was a folk poet, but he was a rapper. So yeah, I do have a tendency and an affiliation for putting music to words, and you know, I speak lyrically. I'll come up with a slang or a jargon that feels and sounds and tastes like a title to a great rock and roll album. And that's just how my mind works with words. And a lot of the writings in the book are sort of have that sort of like, oh, we're in the rock and roll era right now. We're in the beatnik period of the 60s, like Jack Kerouac just spitting out jazz. And that's how my mind kind of computes and puts sentences together a lot of times.
Well, I loved your podcast for that reason, right? Because you were given a little short clip about what this meant to you, and then you would play the song that meant so much to you, and you just went song after song after song. And I'm not saying I was a fan of all the songs you listened to, but there were so many that I connected to as well. And I thought that was a great way to do a podcast. I've never seen that done before. Where'd you get that idea?
Well, I did one. U2 asked me to do their first one when they had their new U2 station. So I did 11 U2 songs, of my favorite U2 songs, and I DJ'd them. And I actually spoke for like sometimes 2 minutes as an introduction to a song. And then, you know, music, I listen to a lot of music. Every character I play, I may have a different album that I create for that character. I have a different song for every scene I've ever been in when I go on set. And so the Spotify list that I put together for Green Lights were songs that over my 50 years meant something to me. So there's a bit of a chronology with the music that I chose. Some of the songs I love, some of them are not my favorite, but they were a seminal song for me at that time. And so I just put that together, and then late at night, you know, mixed a cocktail, came in a dark room, started laying down some introductions as McConaughey, the DJ for Green Lights.
I love it. You're like the first baseman that we know he's going to hit a home run, and we hear his music come up and we all fall in love with her, right? So there's somebody on set for you playing your music that when you come in, this is what I want played. You're getting ready to come up and bases loaded, hit a grand slam.
Sometimes I'm carrying my own jam box.
Huddle Up with Gus listeners, Manscaped, they sent me, they hooked me up with a bunch of tools and formulations for their package 3.0 kit. So, you know, I want to show you guys what's in the perfect package, right? We all think we got a perfect package, but they sent me the perfect package 3.0 kit. And I want to show you what they sent me. So it was crazy. It came in this great box, you know, and you can see what it says. They will thank you, because they send us this awesome trimmer. They sent us, you know, stuff that makes you smell better. And then, they sent me this great, some boxers even, which you get, right? Protect them. And then, they sent me this cool sack, I guess you want to call it, to store all your stuff in. So it's been great. Manscaped sent me a bunch of product, and you can see it all on here. You can go to manscaped.com and put in the code Gus Frerotte, that's GUSFREROTTE, get 20% off and free shipping when you use that code. But you can get a kit, you can get individual items like this way cool groomer that has a little LED light, ceramic. These things come apart, they're waterproof, you can do a lot with them. So Manscaped is great. It's funny. I remember when I was playing with the Denver Broncos, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a gentleman who was playing on our team, and if he ever hears the story, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he brought his own clippers in one time, and he used it to trim his beard up and his goatee and everything. And he had them there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and he goes in around the corner, he walks in, and there's another player that is actually manscaping with his beard trimmer. So, one of the things is you don't want to use the same trimmer down there that you use up here. So he kind of freaked out a little bit, and he said, "Hey, how long have you been using that tool there?" And he said, "Well, it showed up here about 3 weeks ago, and I've been using it ever since." So, there is a lesson learned that, don't leave things out. And probably if it would have just said Manscaped on it, we wouldn't have had that issue. But it's probably one of the funniest taking care of your balls stories I've ever heard or been around in the locker room in the NFL. So it's a great story. But I always said there was no way to know. There was no name on it, and the guy was just using it, and another guy was using it. It was not good, but it's a heck of a funny story. So one of the best I've ever heard in my 15 years playing in the league. But there's so many great things about Manscaped and what they're doing. Because guys, you got to take care of yourself. Even though I got gray hair and getting older, but you still have to maintain some sort of grooming, right? And so, we all work out. For me, I like working in my yard, doing those things now that I'm retired, getting a little sweat on and everything. You want to smell good. You got to take care of yourself. They got some great products. This one, a little ball deodorant. We all need that here and there. After, working in the yard, taking a hike, doing a walk, whatever you do. It's a great thing, but there's so many great products. I want to thank Manscaped for sending them to me. The Lawnmower 3.0, obviously you can use it anywhere in your body, but I'm sure you guys have all seen the commercials. But this is one just letting you know that the Lawnmower 3.0 comes with the perfect kit. You can buy the lawnmower by itself. You can buy all these products individually. They even sent me this wonderful shirt. You can see the back. Your balls will thank you. And then here's the front. So it's an awesome shirt. They have great gear. And you know what? Sometimes you can just sit back, take care of your balls a little bit, and read the paper. So I think Manscaped even has their own daily news, which is great. So don't forget that you can go to the code Gus Frerotte, and that's GUSFREROTTE, and you can save 20% on any products. The perfect package gift set, and you can save 20% and get free shipping. So use the code Gus Frerotte, GUSFREROTTE. Hey, everybody spells my name wrong. They even spelled it wrong in the back of my Pro Bowl jersey. So, I gotta help you guys out. So don't forget how important it is that you use these products. Take care of yourself down below and have some fun, right? There's nothing closer to you than your little buddies. So use the lawnmower, use the code Gus Frerotte, save 20% and get free shipping. and order some great Manscaped products.
And if we go back, I love the other part of your book that I really love with the bumper stickers, because I think that's, it makes so much sense, right? Because what you said was when you're riding down the road and you see a bumper sticker, you immediately kind of get an idea of that person in that car. So what I wanted to ask you is if you can think about the Redskins, what would be your bumper sticker if the Redskins, the Washington football team, had one on their car right now? What do you think that bumper sticker would say?
Time to hail. HAIL.
That's right. HTTR, right?
Yeah. That's what that would probably be. Yeah. And what's it going to be now? Hail to the Red Wolves? What's it going to be?
I don't know.
Do they keep that song and just change out Redskins? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Help us with a name. Bumper sticker. That's it. Right. So we're putting it out there. I'm surprised that Daniel Snyder hasn't reached out to you to try to give him some understanding of what the name should be.
I'm surprised too, Gus. Daniel, if you're listening out there, you got my number, man. We've talked a few times since this name change has even come up, but you haven't even asked me yet. McConaughey, give me a lyric. Give me a bumper sticker. Give me a name.
Right. That's right. What better wordsmith, right? Just tell Daniel that you two will go out into the desert for about, have to be 50 days, maybe 20 days, and we're going to come up with a name.
Can you see me and Dan Snyder can you see Dan Snyder in the desert in a cabin with no electricity for 52 days? That would be awesome.
Right. How long do you think he would make it?
He'd make it longer than he would initially think he could. Because you know him. I mean, he'd show up. He wouldn't even want to. He'd look at the place and go, "Oh no, oh no, oh no, this ain't me. Sorry, no, not me." But if I could just get him in and and he'd be like, "Man, is it dinner time yet?" And you're like, "Man, it's still 1 p.m. You need to slow your time down because his mind moves fast.
Right?
You have to slow him way down. He'd be uncomfortable for a while, but I think he could last. Oh boy, this is gonna be tough, but I think I could keep him there for a week. I'd have to put a helmet on him and a chin strap on him and a mouth guard because he'd be going out of his mind being locked up out in the middle of the desert in a cabin for a week. But I think we can get him there for a week.
I'm definitely taking the under on that one. There's no doubt in my mind, especially when you pull out a head of lettuce and put some ketchup on it. He's like, I'm out of here. He's not eating that.
We'd have to have pastrami sandwich. Yes, he's a foodie.
Yeah, he's definitely a foodie. Like bourbon and some crackers isn't going to cut it for him. And I think this is great because you have been a fan. So, and you're not only a Washington football team fan, but you're a huge Texas Longhorn fan, and you've actually ingrained yourself into that whole university, community, society in more ways than one. And so can you tell me what your favorite part of being a Texas Longhorn is?
Yeah. Look, you come to the University of Texas to play athletics, you are expected to compete for national championships. Have the facilities, have the talent and the coaching positions. It's an expectation. I am right now enjoying my role as minister of culture there, which is I'm trying to align the same values it takes to put a winning team on the field with the same values it takes to have a winner in the classroom in the university as a scholastic destination. They're very similar, as you know, what it takes to win in a sport as it does to take it to win in life. I'm also working on the relationship of the city of Austin with the University of Texas. I'd like to see a future where the city of Austin hires more graduates from University of Texas than any other city hires from their local university. I'd like to see the university and the city start to reciprocate and feed off each other that way. Look, we've got a long-standing pride. Here's a great example. And there's a lot of debate about the eyes of Texas right now. So I don't want to get into that debate, but I will get into what I think is beautiful about the ritual of us singing that song. We sing that song, win or lose. Now, the really beautiful part is that we sing that song when we lose. Because what is it basically saying? We have a long view here. We may have lost the battle today, but we're going to win the war. Right. That's a sense of pride in history and tradition and expectations about the long future we're going to head into as a university that I really like. There's a great entrenched and rich tradition and expectation of excellence and a halo of excellence that is expected for being a Longhorn.
Well, and so following you, and like I said, after I finished, I've been trying to find my passion, my place, whatever you want to call it, but you seem to have so many, and you do them all so well. And I don't know if you are somehow getting extra hours in the day, but I'm just trying to figure out how you do so much at such a high level. Can you give us a little insight to how you do that?
Good question. I'm very organized. I mean, look, there was a time in my life.
I heard about you keeping your list to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I'll put that on there. I'll put any easy, fun thing to do during the day on the list. I love having a longer list and be able to mark more things off of it. A few years back, I did feel like I needed more hours in the day. And I felt like I was sort of making B- and C+ in the 5 things that are on my proverbial Monday morning desk. And I looked down and I said, you know what? This music company, this music label, and this production company, let's get rid of that. Liquidate that. Get rid of it. So I got rid of 2 of the 5 things and had 3 things in front of me: acting, the foundation, and my family. And I said, instead of making B- in these 5 things, let's make A's in these 3 things and put more energy and intent into these 3 things. And it for the most part worked. I was able to concentrate and give more time to the things that really mattered to me. I do have a big life. I got a lot going on. I think I'm very good at compartmentalizing. And here's the other thing, though. I don't do anything now that I don't authentically have a passion for, or that I don't authentically believe in. And if we go do something, if we go do some work that we don't believe in, it's the wrong kind of hard, because all work's hard. Good work is hard, but it's the wrong kind of hard if we don't believe in it. Right. And it's the wrong kind of fatigue. I'll be the wrong kind. I don't like being tired at the end of the day, feeling like I worked my butt off, but I ran in circles. And I'm like, I don't even know if I built anything today. I don't know if I pulled anything up. I don't like. That's the kind of fatigue I don't like. What I do like is a good day's hard work, and at the end of the day going, okay, that cocktail's going to taste good because I earned it, and so I've been pretty good, and I just try to keep work in front of me that I believe in.
Yeah, I think that's so important for anyone. And I think what is great is that anybody of whatever your status is or wherever you are in life can read your book and get something a little bit out of that. Because the way you just said that can be anyone. It doesn't have to be a professional athlete, a movie star. It could be anyone in any walk of life. And you can take these things and just tell yourself that today is going to be a good day. I'm going to go do work that I love, and I'm going to be happy when it's over.
Yeah. And, not everyone can do work that they love. I understand that. But I also know I've done things in my life and still do that I may not love it, but it does enough for me that I need to do it, that I'll work to be good at it. And once I get good at it, I kind of learn to love it because it feels good being good at something. You know what I mean? Really. So I still do work. And people out there who are like, hey man, I got a job that I don't love, Does it, how are you talking to me? I'd say, well, I'm still talking to you because you can go, if you go do something well, even if you don't love it, you can learn to love something because it feels good to do something over and over again that you're good at.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And so, if I think about it, when I was playing, because I never got to go to my dad's work when I was a kid, right? He worked for PPG for 42 years. I never got to go see where he worked. It wasn't allowed in the factory. So for me, I took my kids in the locker room. Sadly, my daughter couldn't go in there a lot, but when I could take her, I would. But my boys were always in there because I wanted to see them and what I was doing all the time. Do you try to do that with your kids and show them what you're doing so that they can see the work that you're putting in?
Yeah, I do. I'm real fortunate in that regard. Before Camilla and I decided to have children, she said to me on one condition. I said, what? And she goes, you go, we go. So my family comes with me wherever I go work on set all around the world. So I go concentrate on my work all day, but when I walk through that door, my kids are there jumping up and we're saying hi and they're busting my bubble, and I'm out of it. Now I'm dad. So, that kept me from having to go to work, be intensely at work for 3 months, then come back home to see my family and have to make up for lost time because my family's with me. I don't have to do that much. I talked to a lot of men that were fathers that were older than me that are in my business about how they do it. And I talked to a few of them, and each one of them said, look, you're going to have to decide the kids are going to either stay with their friends or they're going to go with dad. And everybody I talked to let their kids stay with their friends and didn't bring them with them to set. And every single one of them, in hindsight, said they regretted it.
Right.
They come with me, and that helps a lot in our relationship, plus my relationship with my wife.
No, I agree. And I always thank my wife, too, for being so supportive because I played for 7 teams. For 15 years, we traveled the country and we lived all over, sometimes rental homes, sometimes we bought a home. But that was the most important thing to me. And I couldn't have survived all those cuts and losses and wins and everything that I went through, the red light, yellow light, and the green lights, unless I was able to go home and share it with them every day. I thought it was so important. Yeah, and good on you. You had a spouse that supports you, and that's asking a lot of our spouses, especially, nowadays when a lot of women have even more independence and go have their own roles and succeed in their own ways and their own vocations in life. It's hard. It's a privilege to be able to have a spouse on either side that can support you with their time that much, and especially if you have children. Yeah, it is hard. I thank my wife, Ann, every day. And now she works as a nurse and a therapist, and I try to support her. The roles have changed, and it's kind of funny how that is. And I think that's what makes a family strong.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Hi, this is former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. 1631 Digital Advertising is your one-stop shop to promote your business and get new customers. For award-winning creative to getting ads online, in-display, video, OTT, connected TV, and streaming audio, go to 1631digitaladvertising.com.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea, the American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
Hey everyone, welcome back in the huddle. You can find us at radio.com or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Now let's join the huddle. So you've spent some time in the huddle with me today, but I wanted to ask you, if you could go join any huddle right now out in the NFL, which one would you like to be in?
Ooh, what huddle would I like to be in right now?
I know you still watch all the games.
In all the sports?
No, let's just say the NFL right now.
In the NFL, what huddle do I want to be in right now? I want to be in. Boy, there's so many quarterbacks down and out right now, aren't there?
Don't say the Cowboys. Don't say the Cowboys because you would just get annihilated.
No. You know what? I tell you who I like as a quarterback and as a person, and the demeanor with which he runs his offense and huddles up and the poise that he keeps. Russell Wilson, Seattle.
Yeah. You know what? You know what's funny? I was thinking that because I feel like that's exactly how you would be in the huddle. Because you never see him frazzled. You see him taking care of everyone around him. And he's always in the right spot at the right time. And that's kind of what I was thinking. That's how you would be. You would be that guy in the huddle.
No, well, I'd hope so. He does have quite a bit of poise, and especially for that height. You know, I got to say, I'll tell you a funny story. I did this movie, Two for the Money, where I played this quarterback in college who went on to become a game touter and picker. But we went out and shot this scene. It was a cut back to days, earlier years of my character, right, where he was playing football and he was a quarterback and he was at the goal line, went for the run and got hit, broke his leg. But the scenes leading up before they got the leg broken were his great passes, completions, and winning drive. Well, the crew that they hire on movies to be the stunt football teams are ex-Division I football players. All right?
Not little guys.
I'm 5'11", 3/4. Not little guys. I'm 5'11", 3/4. And look, they're all told, this is a scene. Whatever you do, don't hit number one on the call sheet, me. So I know they're not going to hit me. But the first 6 passes where I drop back, and I know the route. It's a 15-yard cross. I'm throwing it, lead him in. I got a good arm, all that stuff. I airmailed that receiver by 20 freaking feet. It was like, because these monsters were coming in at 6'5". I'm like going, how do the Drew Breeses and the Russell Wilson see over this? Finally, I had, on the 6th take, I was like, okay, you drop back here, you look left, you look right. At this point, when he cuts, throw it. All I could see is the scoreboard, way above all the guys, the defensive linemen. And I said, throw it at that scoreboard. Just throw it about 25 yards. That was the only pass that I completed, and that was the take we used. But the 5 early ones, just airmail, man. Just out of sheer fear, going, oh my gosh, they're gonna crumble on top of me. So yeah, it's a hell of a job to have the poise back there.
Well, that's, when you talk about that, and earlier you were talking about golf, right? To me, it's a little bit the same. When you're playing quarterback, everything is out, right? It's just me, that receiver. I'm beating the DB. I can't control anything else, right? I like to control how I throw it to that guy. Maybe if I make a guy miss because I move my feet or whatever. But it's a mind game. And you got to focus. You got to get rid of everything else. Right. And golf is so like that.
Yeah.
And you might throw a pick. It's just like I might put my drive 2 fairways over. I got to let it go and go to the next play.
Right.
It's great. You got to kind of feel that. You know what I mean? Because when you get your dick knocked in the dirt and you got to get back up and make the next big play, it's one of the hardest things to do in the world.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but that's it. You said it. You get back up, dust off, forget the last one, move on.
So have you ever been on set where it just hasn't been a good day and you had that happened to you over and it just wasn't going? And So how did you pull yourself out of that? You were going through red light after red light. I've been there. I've done it, right?
Yeah.
Then I got to get out of this. How am I going to get to a green light?
Well, there's two manners. I've done it both ways. I have gritted my teeth and forced my way through it and said, I'm coming out the other side and I'm going to out endure this until I absolutely just get it. And I've also had to take the more Eastern view where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a little walk. I got to press reset. I got to go get a new perspective. I got to come back into this scene fresh. I got to go think about something else or let my mind wander to nowhere in particular. And both have worked. I would say for my job, where tension is an actor's worst enemy, that Eastern approach of I'm going to take a little walk, check out, have a new perspective, come back in and start anew is a better way to do what I do when I'm stuck at a red light.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. So, I just appreciate you telling us some stories about how sports has helped you, how it's affected your life, good and bad, and how you're going to, maybe take some of these things on and teach your kids about them, because I think that passing those stories on are so important. And, we're lucky. I don't know which cover you like better, the one with you on it or the one with just your, green light on it. But I think
the green
it's
light's under it.
I know.
Well, thank you.
I think
thanks for reading it. Thanks for talking to me about it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And I appreciate you sharing your life with us because, you grew up like a lot of Americans. It wasn't easy growing up. You had struggles, right? And if you love something, you have a passion. It's just I love the part where you told your dad, I'm not going to be a lawyer. I want to go to film school. And you just said that's what made him happy, that you had a passion and you were going to follow your dream.
That is what made him happy. He saw his youngest son choose his own path at that time. And I think in my dad's heart, he was happy, even though I was not going to do what I was always expected to do. I think he took some honor in going, yes, my son's being a rebel. He's going to go his own way. He didn't even ask me permission to. Yes, that's what you need. That's what you need to succeed.
Well, hey, I appreciate you joining me, Matthew. It was great to catch up with you. It's been a long, long time. And, thank you for sharing your stories. I look forward to, hopefully seeing you sometime in the near future and, sharing this book with everyone, because I think we can all get so much out of it. So tell us how everybody can get your book or, some last words of wisdom for all our fans out there.
Yeah. Hey, Greenlights, go to greenlights.com. You want to find out, you can get the book there, but it's at any bookstore all over the world right now. I mean, from your local bookstores to your Barnes and Nobles, it's out there. And the Audible version is out there too, which I do read and I perform. Look, to say a howdy and an outro, see you later. Here's to catching and creating more of these green lights in our own lives and in other people's lives. And I would say this, a lot of times we think that creating a green light in our own life and in someone else's life, we often think that's a contradiction, that those two don't go together. But I don't believe it's true. There's ways which we can make a choice that is both selfish for us and selfless, and the best choice for the most amount of people as well. And that's the place I hope we get to, especially right now at a time in our nation where we have such great divide. We got to figure out a way to trust each other again. We got to figure out how to believe in each other again. And I think it's through our values where we can say, you know what, let's at least have a conversation, even though we may not have the same points of view or the same politics. Meet you in the middle.
Meet you in the middle. Well, thank you for spending some time with me and Huddle Up with Gus and the new 1631 Digital News Studio. We really appreciate your time and good luck with the rest of everything. And hopefully I'll see your son, playing out for the Texas Longhorns someday. You never know.
That might happen. There's one of them that might happen. I don't think it'll happen with all of them, but it might happen with one I can think of.
I would love to see it. All right.
Gus, I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. Nice catching back up with you.
And that's a wrap, sports fans. Thanks for joining in the fun at the 1631 Digital Studios for another action-packed Huddle Up with Gus, featuring 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. Huddle Up with Gus is proudly produced by 1631 Digital Media and is available on Apple Music,